All right, welcome everyone. We're back for our second lesson on media literacy. Now, last period, we kind of went over media literacy in general and why it's so important. Today, I want to take a look at one of the biggest reasons we need media literacy today, and that is misinformation and disinformation. So, those are two completely different things that a lot of people try to use interchangeably, but you really can't. Misinformation is when someone creates something with information that isn't accurate. And then that information can get spread, and people start believing something that is not true because they've taken in this inaccurate information. Now, there's usually nothing nefarious behind misinformation, it's simply a mistake that grows and grows and grows because the internet exists and we can all access it. Disinformation is the more important one and the more dangerous one. Disinformation can also be considered propaganda if it's done from a governmental perspective, and we're going to take a look at that as well. Disinformation is information that's put out there that's false, but done so on purpose to try to perpetrate this false message to the entire population. And there's a lot of reasons that that might exist, and we will try to tackle some of those over the next few lessons. I want to begin, though, with misinformation, because that's the less nefarious one, but also the more common one if you really want to be serious. The internet is filled with people being able to reach a wide range of people that many have never been able to reach before, right? Throughout most of human existence, our message really was limited to the people we could contact and then maybe the people we contacted who they could contact. So there's like this limited spread of that information. Maybe you had a large platform, you worked from a newspaper, a magazine, or maybe when we moved in the 60s, the television became popular and you could reach people through the television. But most people did not have this massive way to reach an audience. It was really simply just people within the journalism or entertainment industry or government that could reach a really large audience. Then comes the internet, right? And the thought process behind the internet was that it was going to free up all this information and it was going to remove these gatekeepers that were kind of the media. What happens when you do that is you also remove fact checking. When you remove fact checking, and everyone now can distribute information to anyone they want to distribute information to, you get lots of misinformation. A lot of people don't fact check. Think about yourself when you're writing a story and maybe you make a grammatical error. Now, in journalism, right, we have checks and balances and editors that go over the mistakes and try and fix those things. Now, because you don't really have editors, or a lot of people don't have editors on staff, they can simply throw out information that hasn't been checked. And it could reach a large audience, especially if they have charisma. And their platform may be huge, and it may be a platform they really haven't earned. So I want to take a quick look at misinformation first, right? And what I want to look at is this kind of non-nefarious type of misinformation, but misinformation that's out there. And I want to do it hopefully in a kind of fun way. Most of you are hopefully familiar with Britney Spears. Maybe she's a little bit before your time. She was a pop star when I was growing up. I think she's still somewhat of a celebrity today. And last week, she had this interesting Instagram post. Again, this is rather innocuous, but she posted on there that she was trying to get her time down. And she talked about starting at 9 seconds and cutting a couple seconds off. And at the end of the post, she says she got down to 5 seconds. And then she hashtagged it 100-meter dash. Now, it's hilarious because she's insinuating that she ran a 5-second 100-meter dash. Maybe she did. I mean, we can't prove that she didn't. I mean, unless she would run it for us. But we do know it's unlikely to be true, right? The fastest ever recorded time in the 100-meter dash was by Usain Bolt, and he was still barely under 10 seconds, hanging around 9.5 seconds. 5 seconds would mean that she's almost twice as fast as the fastest ever recorded 100-meter dash. Maybe, I don't want to say it's impossible. Maybe Britney Spears is the fastest person alive. And listen, if she wants to go to the Olympics next year, right? It's been canceled for this year, next year. I'm okay with that. Britney Spears in the Olympics, hashtag it 2021 in Japan. Let's do it. But unlikely, right? Also, who really cares? It's misinformation. If people believe that, it's not a big deal. It's almost kind of funny, right? If you meet someone that really believes that and thinks Britney Spears ran this 5-second 100, you can get some jokes off of it, but it is misinformation. It's not true, right? Most likely. So that's what we consider misinformation. It's not really done on purpose or with anything nefarious behind it. The bigger issue is when there is a purpose behind it. And that's what we consider disinformation. And this often the times comes from governments, even unfortunately our own. For many years, this was really kind of exclusively what we would see in dictatorships, what we might see in Russia, sometimes in China, where you do have kind of communist regimes or a dictator regime in place. We have started seeing that more in America, and I'm going to show you an example from a recent press conference of something we might consider disinformation. Watch this clip.
By this pandemic, by this disease, this whatever they want to call it, you can call it a germ, you can call it a flu, you can call it a virus, you can call it many different names. I'm not sure anybody even knows what it is.
Okay, so you notice what he says in that clip, right? If you didn't do any research, you might take that information in at face value and go, okay, well, maybe no one knows what this is, right? Maybe this is true. This is the president of the United States. This could be 100% true. What we do know is it's not true, right? We can show you many different examples of people who know exactly what this virus is. They may not know how to fight it, right? It's a new virus, but they sequenced the genome of this virus in China way back in January. We know exactly what this is. We're still just struggling to fight it because it's new, but it's disingenuous to say no one knows what it is. And that is a little bit more nefarious because there could be a reason behind it. It's a way to make it seem like this is something that we could we could say anything we want about it, right? One of the things that we've often seen is this misinformation with people saying the virus is just the flu. And we know for a fact that it's not. And the reason that's problematic is if people act like this is the flu that we're dealing with, then it's going to cause the spread of this virus to become much larger and more people could die from it. And so this is very real consequences from disinformation. So that is misinformation versus disinformation. So for today's assignment, to try to help us continue to understand a little bit about disinformation and misinformation, I've left a link to a fact check on a Donald Trump press conference. And it's a way that the media has been trying to combat disinformation here in America. What I would like you to do is look through that fact check, choose two of those fact checks to kind of analyze a little bit and tell me why it would be problematic if that information got out there. And the bigger question is, I would like you to write a paragraph and tell me, do you think fact checking works as a way to combat this problem? And that is our lesson for today.